On today's broadcast of Habits and Money, we're going to be talking with a great mind who really understands branding. We will explore a number of important concepts about branding and how this platform can really help to push your business forward, accelerate business growth, and possibly optimize your business potential cash flow.
Pitch Deck 101 LLC out of New York. Do more than just support our clients to pitch their businesses to investors access working capital at 0% APR. We also support our clients to grow and scale their businesses faster and cash flow optimize. Pitch Deck 101 LLC recent partnership with 10X Branding Marketing. LLC and Global Capital Inc. out of the USA has enabled us to form unique partnership with multiple financial institutions, which means we can do even more to accelerate the success of our clients. Let Pitch Deck 101 LLC give you the support you need to pitch to investors, access capital, access new markets, and grow and scale your business. Contact us now on 332-235-1099 for a free consultation.
The person in studio is no other than Barry Lavov, and do join me in welcoming Barry Lavov. Hi, Barry. How are you today?
I am great, Gary. It's a pleasure and honor to join you today. So I look forward to this, and I love the approach that you have toward business and helping others.
Great. And I must say, I admire the rich history that you have in your field. I recognize that you have started a business not yesterday, but you have about 4 to 5 years experience in business. You studied business, which I think is important. But today you spend a lot of time focusing on branding and providing the highest quality of training to really help rising stars in business to get this right. Along with this, you have just commissioned the book, Power of Differentiation. And I'm trusting that we can talk a lot of some of what you do to really help the listening audience to get you. I also recognize that you have a passion, and that passion is to reach over 1 million persons with your data. So let's begin. Let's begin by talking about your experience in business. Many years ago, you decided to study business. What really motivated you to journey along the path of business?
I originally, Gary, did not find business interesting. And I actually did not want to do business. I wanted to do something creative. So I was in a rock and roll band, and my music sold well under 1 million copies, I like to tell people. But we were successful. And I learned how to work with people. I learned how to discover their strengths. And I learned how to really work hard to develop opportunities to grow that band, which it's very tough to do in that industry. So as I started to go into the business sector, I found that it was fascinating because I did not realize how much I could use creativity to be successful in business. So what happened, honestly, way back, Gary, was I was a rock and roll guy, had bands. At one point, I started to dabble in business, and I thought, wait a minute, I can use my creativity and my team building to grow a business and to attract clients. And that's how it began. And I never looked back once I focused on business.
Interesting. Is that the reason why we have today Labov Marketing and Communication? Talk to us about the history behind Labov Marketing and Communication.
Well, I'll tell you, it's an interesting story from my standpoint because I had been running my rock band, but also had been working on what are known as jingles, those little songs that are in commercials and advertising. And what happened was I one day found out that my father was seriously ill. I was around 28 years old at the time. Shortly after he passed away. And I stopped for a moment. I stopped for a moment and I thought, I don't know how long I'm going to be around. And right now I'm kind of in 2 different areas. I'm trying to run a band. I'm trying to run a company. And maybe I ought to commit to one thing and do it my best. And I gave myself permission that night to make a decision, pursue one path. And I decided to pursue business. And what happened was I thought I gave myself 6 months that if I didn't like it or I felt I had sold my soul or something, that I could go back to music. But
Gotcha.
I never regretted the decision. And what was interesting was I kept working, and within a year, a client turned to me and said they wanted me to absorb their marketing department. They wanted me to buy their marketing equipment and actually their people. I would then be their advertising marketing agency. And I turned them down. I said, no, here are other people you can talk to, but I'm mostly doing music and audio. Well, they kept persisting. And then one day they called me up and said, will you please take on our marketing and advertising? And I said, well, I've given you the names of so many other companies that can help you. Why do you keep asking me this? And they said, because we trust. And I thought, oh my gosh. So it hit me like a load of bricks, Gary. And I said, okay, I'm doing it. And then my client said, are you serious? You're really going to do it this time? I go, I'm going to do it. All of a sudden, I became a marketing advertising agency. I absorbed their people, many of whom did not want to work on that company's work. So many of them left right away and said, I don't even like what I've been doing. I went, okay. It put me on a path to attack and to enjoy other areas of creativity, such as videos and brochures and websites, things I had not been doing. It thrust me into it. And not to make it too complex, but most of my clients up to then had been advertising agencies. All of them let me know as soon as I became an ad agency that I was a competitor and they would no longer do business with me. So I lost all of my clients, but I gained this one big opportunity. And that thrust me into it. And not to make it more complex, but within a year, because of the growth we had, I was chosen as Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst & Young, and I got national recognition for that. And that further helped our company expand and grow.
Fantastic. I do believe that you're what I would say you're a lucky guy. All right. I do believe that how the dynamics was set up, the fact that you were in music and the fact that you almost sold 1 million copies of your products, it means that you had an audience base. So you have an audience base. And with the right audience base, that is leverage in terms of whatever you were doing. So I think, I can really see how stepping into ownership of that business and pushing it forward really worked out for you. But it has been about 4 to 5 years now since you have been in business, and a lot has developed from when you started way back then to now. Today, you spend a lot of time on branding, helping businesses to understand branding. You spend a lot of time providing training to businesses. Can you talk to us about what, from your perspective, makes the understanding of branding so important to the rise and fall of a business?
I think that it's critical that whether you run a one-person company or whether you have 30,000 employees, it really doesn't matter. What's really important is that you understand what makes you as a company or brand unique, because we are pressured today, all businesses are, to be commoditized, to act like everyone else, to lower our price, to become generic. The problem with that, Gary, is that if we follow the path, and I call it the commodity monster, if we get eaten up by the commodity monster because we're trying to sell more and we're willing to lower prices and we're willing to cut corners and we're willing to look like everybody else because everybody else is selling more and we got to be like them, we lose a lot. And I'll share what we lose. We not only lose the potential to be profitable, we lose the potential to stand out amongst the competition. But here's something that is so important that we don't understand sometimes, and that is we lose the hearts and minds of the people who work for us or who represent our brand, because they look at us and they go, we used to do something special. We don't anymore. I'm so disappointed in this company. We were the best and now we're like everyone else. And when you lose the heart and soul of a person, you lose their quality, you lose their employment. A lot of times they walk off. So it is more important today than ever to identify what is your brand, what makes you unique. And it's not 150 things. It could be 1, 2, or 3 things you do that are just a little different, not superior necessarily, not superior, but different. And they all have to do with the why, the passion behind why you're doing what you're doing. So why is branding important? Well, if you want to increase market share and if you want to win the hearts and minds of your people, you have to have distinctiveness. You have to identify what is your brand.
Right. The perception is, Barry, is that the concept of uniqueness is an exhausted trend of thought. There's some that tend to believe that with all the players you have in the market, it's really difficult for you to really completely distinguish yourself from the competition. How would you respond to that type of statement?
Well, I would say this. I've worked with companies that are 120 years old that thought they had no distinctiveness. I've worked with companies that are 200 years old that thought they had none. I've worked with companies that are startups that felt the same thing. There is something unique. There is something there. So if you're 120 years old and you think you do nothing unique and you're like everybody else, I have to say there is something that has kept you in business for 120 years. There's something.
Mhm.
And again, it may not be 25, 30 different things. It may be one or two distinctive qualities, but there's something. And one thing we have to think about, we get so close to what we do, Gary, that it's easy to not see it. It's easy to take it for granted. We have to look deeply into the products we produce, or it could be the services or the technology we produce, or it could even be the experience we provide our customers. There's something in there and you've got to find it. And when you find it, you have to honor it. You have to name it. You have to be able to tell its story. That's what's so important about it. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, you have to celebrate it with the most important people first. And that's your people, your employees, your supporters.
Well, I think that's definitely a great answer. You may not know it, but it exists. And I think it's important for you to invest enough time with the brand to really understand the brand. Something that I've recognized, though, Barry, is that one can be unique in the context in which you speak in, but being unique doesn't necessarily mean that you are exceptional. Meaning that your uniqueness might be your ability to foster and nurture healthy relationship with the ideal client. And you have an ecosystem around that. Your competition may have a similar program, but then they're providing different quality of products. So that in itself is not a competition. But I love what you have said. Barry, let us talk a little bit about your training program. Help us to understand a little bit about the training program. And I want us to do a deep dive into the book, which is the Power of Differentiation. So let's talk a little bit about what your training program is and what are some of the objectives behind your training program.
We believe that training is every bit as important as sales or marketing. A lot of companies look at training as the redheaded stepchild. They just give it to somebody else. They don't care. They'll just say, hey, some other department takes care of it. It's not important. It is so important that the people who represent your brand, your products, your services understand it. They need to understand it. And we call it from going from why to wow, which means this. A lot of times the individual who is building the product, selling the product, representing it, sometimes servicing the product. Okay. Could be any of those things. They go, I don't know why they do it this way. I don't know why they do whatever. And if we can take them from that doubting why to, wow, look at what we're doing. This is why we do what we do. This is amazing. I'm proud of what I'm part of. So what we do, Gary, is we do not focus solely on the salesperson in our training. Our training usually includes everybody in an enterprise. It could be the person who is the greeter at the door of a retail establishment. It could be the accounting department. It could be the salesperson. It could be the human resources director. It could be anybody, because everybody in the company needs to know. In addition, our training programs work very, very closely with the distribution or dealer network, because so often they can sell and distribute competitive products to our clients' products. So we have to let them know, hopefully inspire them to understand that our clients' products have uniqueness, have value, and that they are helping the consumer, the customer to have a better life, to choose a better product. So we have to get into the minds and then the hearts of anybody that sells or represents that product or service.
Essential Care Pharmacy, providing more than your healthcare needs. Get the best in muscle-building products. health supplement products, beauty care products, medical supplies, colognes and cosmetics, blood pressure testing kits. Access our medical doctors, and so much more. Essential Care Pharmacy, your leading healthcare provider.
I really love that you say you have to get into the hearts and mind of the ideal client in order to, generate interest and the sales. And I love that because of the fact that I do believe that there are a lot of rising stars in business that believes, doing business is just opening doors and, putting a product out there. But if all the moving parts is not right for the average, rising star in business, that is not going to work. And really taking the time to understand the ideal client, taking the time to understand their interests and their needs, and reverse engineering based on your knowledge of the ideal client, I think is one of the smarter, better, safer way to really connect with their hearts and their minds. So that's a great share. You have produced a book. I think it is soon to be released, titled Power of Differentiation. I do believe in business and in life. I agree. You need to find that uniqueness. That uniqueness is what's going to help you to stand out. But talk to us about the book. I mean, what is your frame of mind, your terms of reference when you are compiling a book of this nature, The Power of Differentiation?
That's a great question. I originally began the book 3 years ago as a pretty basic marketing book. Here's how you can improve your differentiation to increase sales and profit. What happened in that journey, Gary, was very, very transformational for the message. Because during that time, we had the pandemic, of course. I observed during the pandemic that 50 million people in the United States alone quit their jobs in the pandemic. They quit. They didn't want to work there anymore. They were fed up. Some never went back to work. Some went somewhere else, of course. And I thought, God, that's unbelievable. 50 million people. Well, at the same time, the number of brands, the number of names of products out there grew to 50 or 100 million out there. And I thought, what's interesting is there is more confusion in the marketplace as to what to buy because there are so many different options, so many different companies promising the same things. At the same time, we're losing the loyalty of employees. And it came together for me that, if an employee does not think they're working somewhere that's unique, special, that is honorable, that is doing something they think is important, then that employee feels no significance. They don't feel they do anything of meaning. And honestly, why should they care about doing a good job there? And why should they care about staying there? I looked at this book as a message that could influence 1 million people or more because the message is very positive, which is you as a brand, as a leader, you're doing something that is unique. So first of all, you need to appreciate it yourself. Your heart and your mind needs to be in it. Because if you're just there to go push people and tell them to do this or that, it's not going to be very inspiring for anybody, let alone for yourself as a leader. Once you understand that and you can crystallize it, you can say, this is how we do and why we do what we do. The most important thing to do is to bring your employees in close and give them a moment to realize that what they're doing has meaning. It's significant. They're playing a role in this company, and without their role, we cannot be successful. And by the way, what we are calling success is not just making money for a couple of people. It's helping customers. It's helping your clientele, if you call them clients. It could be helping the world. I looked at the book and I thought, The Power of Differentiation. The subtitle is what really tells the story, and it's win, as in WIN, win hearts, minds, and market share. And that is exactly what the book is about. You have to win the hearts of people, starting with yourself as a leader. You got to believe. Then it's your mind. You got to go, okay, my heart's in it now. I got to make sure this all makes sense. And I understand what we're doing. But after that all comes together and you celebrate it, you're going to win market share because you know what? Your customers will feel it. They'll see it. They'll recognize it in every one of you. The thing you don't want to do is launch a new product or brand and then have the people who represent it, when they're asked about it, say, I don't know what it is. They put something out there. I don't know, whatever. They do it. They don't tell me anything. We don't want to have that kind of situation. The book is all about that. It's not my memoir. It's a combination of over 50 different stories, all of them ultimately positive lessons, some celebrations of great things companies did. It's almost a handbook for somebody who wants to do it themselves.
I really love that you emphasize employees, impact with the employees, because I do believe that sometimes as you focus on developing the corporate brand, you look at the product line that you're going to be offering. Very often, the people who are going to be responsible for representing the product line, much thought in many cases is not really given into how they show up and how they help you to create impact with the ideal client. So I do believe that that is definitely an essential part of any business. Love that. I know that you want to reach over 1 million person with your brand, and I can see that what you have just spoken about is so important. It's so important because I do believe as you speak about your staffing, they can be trained and nurtured to impact your ideal client in such a way that they are leaving lasting memories in the minds of the ideal client. And because of the fact that they have left that positive taste on their tongue, several things happen. They may start to spend more, and they may also start to refer others to your business. And that is definitely creating win-win situation. I don't want to get into the pandemic because of time. And what we see happen during the pandemic, we see the people that, we call the family, the oxygen of the organization. We see many of them, in some parts of the world that was thrown under the bus. But we're going to get into that, I'm certain, as we look at other interviews, not today. But Barry, I want us to spend the next 15 minutes just doing some quick response to some questions. I'm happy that you have shared with us about your business and some of what you're doing, some of the future plans. But I want us to do some rapid response to some question here. Excuse me. Let's talk a bit about habits. What habits do you think influences success?
I have some habits in that I have to write things down and then I mark them off because a couple of things. My mind's running around moving quickly. Number one. Number two, I need to feel a sense of accomplishment that I got something done. And sometimes in writing it down, if it's something that's a challenge for me or frustration, it helps me because a couple days later, I'll look at it and I'll go, okay, it wasn't that big of a deal. So to me, write it down, mark it off.
Right. How would you define success?
For me, success is helping other people achieve something they could never have done previously or never thought they could do previously.
Love that. Barry, you have a lot of success in your life. You've been in business for 40 years. You have helped many, many businesses. And that in and of itself is, we can consider it success, helping people. Would you say that you have a blueprint for success? Can you tell us a little about your blueprint?
My blueprint is to follow my passion and to trust my instinct. Sometimes, Gary, that takes me down a different path than what would be logical, but I respect that because I believe that when your mind and your heart is guiding you somewhere, there is something good, there's something meaningful. So I follow my mind and heart, but I keep my logic intact. I make sure it makes sense. So that's what I do. I don't go one extreme or the other. I engage both sides, the logic and the inspiration.
I love that. Barry, the average person looking at you who know your history, you have came from a music background, you leverage that music background to do things like jingles, and you leverage all of that experience to set up, a branding organization. You have had so many other successes in your life. When people look at you, they see the success, but sometimes all they see is the success, but they don't see the challenges that you would have gone through. Mm-hmm. And to be where you are today. Can you tell us a little bit about the challenges that you had to overcome to be as successful as you are today?
I've been told many times, especially in my younger years, that I had no talent and that I should give up in whether it was music or give up in business. I've dealt with that. So I never try to claim it's been easy for me, but I never brag like I've worked too hard because I think that's inappropriate. But the challenges I have met since I I was probably 14 years old or younger, maybe, have been being told I'll never amount to anything. I'm going to fail, give up, and everything else. And I have persevered through those. And with the fact that I have a great wife that has been with me for 45 plus years, it's been a journey that's been worth pursuing, but there have been a lot of bumps in the road. So I hope I never come off like, gee, it's been great and the wind has been behind me the whole time.
Barry, I want to say congratulations because you have proved them wrong.
Thank you.
have proved them wrong. Barry, as you look back at some of the history, is there anything that is holding you? Do you have regret? And is there anything that is holding you back? Do you see regret as something that holds you back or pushes you forward?
If I could, I'd go back and change a few hundred things that I've done or not done. So I definitely would do that. And I think almost every day of a client that we should have done some better work for, or should have been able to do this or that for. Reality, it probably would have no bearing on my life if I was still working with that client. I mean, I wouldn't live differently. There would be no difference, but I hate to fall short. So I have many, many regrets, but I kind of look at them as learning opportunities and a chance for me to be more firm, not emotional, but more firm in what I'm going to do moving forward, so that when those opportunities present themselves, I don't make the same mistake. But I'm also not emotional about it. I just go, look, I've made that mistake before. I'm not going to do it. This is where we're going, and I don't want to go any further on it. We're going to do it this way. So it makes it easier for me to make the next decision.
I love that. Barry, without a doubt, you are an influencer. What would you say inspire you to be an influencer in your industry?
What inspires me is to make history. I want to make history, not for me. And I think that's why we've been successful, because I don't want to make history for me. I want to make history for my clients, many of the people I know. And we've had the chance to help people and companies do something that historically they've never done. And I think that is so exciting, to help a company that's been around for 120 years do something that they never thought they could do. So that's what inspires me, making history.
This next question may coincide with some of what you said, but what impact do you want to make on the world, and how do you want to be remembered?
I don't care if I'm remembered as a business person at all. I do want to be remembered as a creative and ultimately very positive influence on people. So whether it's my grandchildren or my children or the employees I work with or my friends or clients, I want it to be that somebody says, hey, you know what? He had some great ideas and they were really positive. He made me feel good about stuff. And it was exciting what we did.
Awesome. What are the major plans that you have for the business and looking forward?
I have two young people who are coming in that will end up running the company in the next 3 years or 5 years, somewhere in that realm. In that period of time, there's a lot to do. And after that too, because I don't plan on retiring. So what I want to do is we're going to be promoting the story of the book. We're going to be reaching out. We have our own podcast we're beginning very shortly. I've been on 75 podcasts in the last 6 months. I look to promote the book to companies all over the world. So to me, there are a lot of exciting things. I am not planning a new book, but that's always a possibility.
All right. Well, we're about to wrap up here. I think I just have about 2 more questions. But the next question, based on your future plans, how important is access to capital to move your vision forward?
Well, I have to tell you, Gary, we have never taken out a loan. So I've been very conservative. So our approach has not been utilizing extra capital. We have done things within our purview so that we did not have the pressure. That's how I would have felt, had the pressure to make sure we're paying that back. So we've done it on our own thus far.
Well, congratulations. I mean, that is, exceptional. And I'm so happy to hear that. The last questions, what are essential money habits that you think people need to know and have and practice?
I think it's really important, and it dovetails with your last question, that we don't get almost drunk with money thinking, oh, we've got all this extra money and we can be, let's say, sloppy or not attend to the money that we do have. I think we also, as a good habit, we need to have cash flow. as a company. There are many, many great companies out there that on paper are making money, but they don't have any cash. And what I believe is if you're in a desperate cash position, you make desperate decisions. So I want to avoid desperation so that I can make a clear-headed decision.
All right, Barry, before we pull the curtain down, there might have been something that you wanted to say, but I may not have asked you that question. If so, I want to give you the opportunity to, take this time to share any information that you think is important to what you're doing that perhaps I may not have asked that question.
Gary, you did a tremendous job. You covered many, many areas that I normally don't have the opportunity to. I think, again, discover what makes you unique. Even if you're a one-person company, honor it. Give it a name. Don't just say, this is how we do it. It's what we do. Give it a name. It's just like our children have names, okay? We don't call them child 1, 2, or 3. They have names. Give this uniqueness an identity. And then, as I mentioned many times, celebrate it. Don't just inform, celebrate it. Be proud. And to me, you do that, you're going to be successful.
All right, Barry, I must say it has been such a tremendous pleasure talking with you. And I really trust that the listening audience took away a number of nuggets from what you would have said. I know that this is one of our first interview, but I'm trusting that this is definitely not the last, because I really want to know how you did it, how you started that business, how you scaled that business. You never took out the debt. But you were able to generate cash from perhaps the get-go of the business to move the vision forward. But let me ask you very quickly one last question. Do you think that your background in music, your history and success in music had anything to do with the fact that you were known, liked, and trusted, and it was easy to convert from there?
The people who knew my music did not translate over to my business career, but my learning of creativity and identifying the talents of the people on your team or your band really did transfer. So it helped me run the business, but it did not send clients to me. I did not have clients that left the music world and then joined me in the business world.
All right. All right. Thanks, Barry. You've certainly been a light and inspiration here. And I wish you all the best of success, all the great work that you're doing, and anything that we can do to help you achieve the objective of reaching 1 million or over 1 million persons. We are definitely happy to throw that support your way. Thanks again.
Thank you, Gary. It's been an honor.
Okay.
Essential Care Pharmacy, providing more than your healthcare needs. Get the best in muscle-building products, health supplement products, beauty care products, medical supplies, colognes and cosmetics, blood pressure testing kits. Access our medical doctors, and so much more. Essential Care Pharmacy, your leading healthcare provider.